Hello, I'm Angelina. Do you like the sound of my sexy 13-year-old voice? I hope you do. Well, today we are going to be doing a segment I like to call DeviantArt Gallery Stories by, well, AP Gaga 1 Pegasister. As we watch Coco Pamel lick the ice cream all sexy like, we are going to explain, and I mean the royal we, that we are going to be talking about Morgan the Cat 2468.
Get on with it!
Okay. I don't know where that came from, but we begin the story with Rainbow Dash and Supersonic. It was the day that Rainbow Dash had done her first sonic rain boom. She was just a little filly. She had grown a little bit taller than most ponies her age. In some perspective, she was the smallest, but in this one, she was actually the biggest, as the rain boom had given her a gigantic growth spurt. The speed and the fastness of it had made it so Rainbow Dash had gone into a different dimension where a whole bunch of crazy shit was about to go down. She had seen Supersonic, and wow, was he a little bit sexier than she had imagined a golden hedgehog to be. And he was yellow. So very yellow. Something odd had happened. As usual, there was shading, but now it was more realistic, or even more realistic than she could fathom, as an oddly big, black, thick cat head had gone her way with the demon eyes. Those fucking demon eyes. Oh, those demon eyes. She had met another hedgehog, a hedgehog that looked quite odd.
Excuse me, it's a wolf!
She had mistaken most Mobians for hedgehogs, and she was a little bit racist, but it was actually a wolf. It looked like it had been balding, and it was emo. It had the colors of death, but sexy death. She just wanted it inside of her mouth. Keep going. But her thoughts were distracted by Super Kitty, the fabulous, sexy cat with super freak. That's not English. See, she couldn't even talk. She was having trouble as the sexy superhero cat was walking her way with the comic book style hair and ears. She had gone away from all the sexiness as she thought that she was going to explode with delight, but then she realized that there was going to be more. 3 other Mobians, a hedgehog, a bunny, and a cat that looked strangely familiar to another yellow cat, had been there. The one bunny was quite young, a child, you could say. She had found her the most attracted since Rainbow Dash was actually a secret pedophile. She had found it amusing to watch them squirm as she would lick them, lick their faces, lick their happy little smiles away from them. Oh, it was glorious. She had watched as the soulless, colorless eyes of the pink, or at least a used to be pink hedgehog, looked down at her. Her soul was crushed, and she had found nothing attractive anymore. She couldn't find the young child attractive. All she could see was those soulless eyes and that devilishly horrible, horrible smile. And she couldn't take it anymore. She was gonna commit suicide. The worst kind of death. She had met a yellow cat, something that was quite rare, as she usually thought that most of them were hedgehogs. She saw the devil in her eyes and her very large butt. She decided that That was the person who was going to kill her. She didn't care how, she didn't care who, but she had more dignity than to kill herself, and so she needed the grasp of a yellow cat. She had gone really, really fast, trying to go as fast as she could to the yellow cat, but then realized that she was going so fast that another sonic rainbow had hit, and she went back to Ponyville. But it was a different kind of Ponyville. It was darker, gleamier, stupider. And there was a yellow Pegasus. It kind of looked like her, but a little bit different. And you know what? She was sexy too, and it reminded her of the cat. So she wanted her to kill her instead. She had made the same mistake twice and went super duper fast to her. She was so close, yet so far. She was kicked on to some kind of weird paradox and weird timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly crap. She was put into this odd chamber filled with a fat man and lots of jewels as a sexy bat with large breasts came into the moonlight trying to steal the jewel that was her rump, as she thought that Rainbow Dash's cutie mark was a gem. She was sort of stupid. Bursting into the metal walls, the pink hedgehog had come back. She couldn't take it. She went close to the mechanical beings, the mechanical squirrels and other kinds of things, and she wanted them to kill her, but she couldn't. The hearts and flowers around her were distracting her, and she couldn't find her balance. She saw the sexy bunny again. Flowers and hearts were covering her too, and she smiled as she licked her lips, forgetting the thought of death and remembering the thought of lust. The purple fire cat had come again. She had mistaken her for the yellow cat she saw before, but then realized the purpleness of her fur and the yellowness in her eyes. She had fallen in love with those cat's eyes. She respected her. She didn't care about the species difference. She had read a story once about a blue hedgehog and a pink hedgehog once. She was thinking of that pink hedgehog to be the same as her, that soulless monster. She ran away as quick as she could, and she seemed to go into that other dimension. Outside of the metal walls was the three-dimensional place where everything was too realistic. The migraines pounding in her head, and she could hear ringing in her ears. She saw that yellow pony again, that sexy yellow pony that had the strange resemblance of her. She didn't go as fast as she did last time and begged her to kill her. The strange feelings of lust and death needing to kill her, death needing to grasp her, death needing to be there was so confusing to her that she just needed that yellow pony, or any pony for that matter, to finish the job. A purple alicorn had flown by. She thought that it was her friend Twilight. She was certain of it. She flew close to her. "Twilight, I need your help. I'm having a confusing time. You need to kill me." Twilight gave a confused look and stood there. The yellow cat had ran to the rainbow cyan, multiple colored multiple colored Pegasus, and thanked her for all the support she had gotten. She was confused at why she was thanking her, but didn't question it, and was going to thank her for death, or at least in the afterlife. She had flown really, really fast because she knew that maybe there was another universe where deadly creatures would find her. She flew really fast, having another sonic rain boom. She had gone insane. Ponies and hedgehogs were in harmony, and everything was this pink, weird color. She saw this purple pony and this very odd-looking hedgehog or cat or panther. She couldn't tell, and she didn't care, riding each other, not in the dirty way. And they had a giant sewing needle. She thought maybe she could kill herself with that. She flew as fast as she could to the sewing needle. But then she had realized that she was going into another dimension again. It was too late. This next dimension had that purple cat again. She was flying in the air, screaming the word Nyan, or some other Japanese word over and over again to annoying music as rainbows were coming out of her body in space. She had been jealous and she was going very fast with rainbows, but that was her thing. She started to fly really, really fast to that purple cat, and the rainbows were going behind her. She had gone faster and faster and ended up in another dimension once again. Her brain was dizzy and she couldn't take it anymore. She had found those other friends again, except there was another odd blue creature with a bow tie and some kind of bird. She didn't care. She was so confused, so young. She didn't understand life, and she was going through multiple dimensions. She couldn't take it anymore. She just found the nearest sharp thing. She banged her head against the wall like the poster she had saw of that yellow cat and the rainbows. It all reminded her of the good old times she had with her friends as she would dance along and bang her head to the beat, but this time she was trying to end her life. Blood was seeping down on her forehead, and she realized that death wasn't the answer. But it was too late. Everybody had found out that Rainbow Dash had wanted to die. Her pink friend always wanted to make her friends happy, so she did it. She went to the more mentally insane part of her head and murdered her friend brutally and horribly. She had found it enjoyable that she had killed one of her best friends and turned them into some kind of decoration. She drank the blood and smiled. She danced along like that yellow cat she saw in her dreams. She danced and danced by the fire, accidentally stepping on who was wants to be her friend. Pinkie Pie had jumped up, her straight mane getting in her hair. She had pushed it away, but realized that those stupid Mobians had gotten to her home again. They all thought it was some kind of horror attraction or haunted house. They were making out in her basement. And oh, what a mistake that was. She had carved out the blueness of that one hedgehog's stupid quills and skinned it alive, but they still were making out, blood seeping through. She was in bliss, killing what once was a beautiful creature. She had saw that a yellow cat had wandered in as well, and it angered her as she had realized that more visitors than she would want were coming into her home. She killed those two hedgehogs, or whatever kind of Mobians they were, and looked at the yellow cat with some kind of Christmas accessory, even though it wasn't Christmas for her, maybe for others, but not for her. She had saw that more cats in Christmas attire were coming into her home. She didn't understand this. Why was Christmas cats coming into her bloody basement? Blood was getting into the white fluffiness of their hats, and, well, she didn't enjoy that one bit. She would find it irritating as evidence was coming into her home. Blood-covered cats coming out of Pinkamina's house wasn't the best thing to be told to, especially the police. She was tired of all of the stupid games. She ran over to the pink hedgehog that she knew was as insane as her, insane about that blue hedgehog and insane in general. They both had many things in common. The cool colored eyes, the pink fur, and the insane attire. And by the end of it, they would have red on them. Red with Pinkamina's case in blood, and red in her dress. She smiled. "Let's go," Amy said. Shadow came in like a boss. And by like a boss, well, he was the boss. Shadow was one of the people who were in this corporation, killing people and enjoying it as he did. He would put on glasses to hopefully disguise himself to no avail. He was very hidden. She had seen that yellow cat again. They had been following her, finding out a lot about her, and she didn't like it. Too many witnesses. She was going to kill her in 2014 ways. She didn't care. She was going to do it. Another cat had come in. This one was in a blue dress, and she had hair. It was very odd. Looked like she was wearing makeup, but she wasn't. She just could tell that it wasn't makeup. At least she wasn't in Christmas attire like the others. She didn't care. She was angry and she didn't want any more people in her house. She didn't want any more cats in her house. But she wouldn't mind killing that one cat. She had fallen asleep, thinking of the adventures of her and her old imaginary friends she had as a filly. She had this bunny-like creature. She couldn't really tell what it was, but they would go on gem hunts together, and instead of mining rocks and farming rocks, they would have fun adventures with sparkly gems and smiles. She had many imaginary friends. She had a panda or some very odd creature.
It's a bear!
She could never tell what her imaginary friends were. She thought it was a bear, a panda, something like that.
It's a bear!
She didn't mind. She just loved how loving she was, unlike the people in her life or the life she had in general. There was the two villains. Pinkie Pie was asexual, and so she didn't really like romance that much. So the thought of romance was something evil to her. Seeing people make out and seeing people being lovey-dovey was horrible to her, and so the bad guys in her dreams were usually a couple. These two were named Phoenix and Ten. She hated those. She hated them so much. She had woken up from her lovely dreams of imaginary friends that only a filly could imagine. She saw those bunnies and those raccoons, and she was getting irritated. She couldn't handle it. She didn't like anybody in her house. She only wanted Amy and the people she killed in her house, and the occasional Shadow because he was her boss. She was going to kill so many people, and she was already waking up from a nap. She was already tired and drowsy, and so she was getting tired of all of this, and she knew she would need to take another one for killing two loud children at the same time. Shadow had brought in that blue hedgehog. Apparently she had a baby, or at least she thought that it was a she. Sonic had always had babies lying around and was very feminine. It was probably because of his homosexuality, but that was just from Pikabina's perspective, since she was also homophobic and didn't really like gay people that much. She would think that, well, was Shadow and Sonic dating? Were they adopting? Is Sonic a girl? She couldn't tell, and frankly she didn't care. She just wanted him out of her house. That yellow cat had gone to her house asking for questions to be asked of her. She was getting furious. She took out the knife and started to carve into the white parts of her fur, making them blood red. She was fighting back the closest thing she had, some picture of her and her friends. She didn't mind. She was throwing it and hitting it on top of the straight-maned pony to no avail. She thought it was weird. She gave her a confused look. All of the blood was getting in her eyes. She couldn't see. She was so confused. Why was this happening to her? Pinkie Pie was having fun. She chopped off Morgan's head and threw it around, having a game of dodgeball with Shadow. Shadow smiled. They burned her, setting her on fire, filling her with fire, making her burn like she was going to burn in hell. Oh, she enjoyed it so very much. She had no comment. She couldn't believe what was happening. The soul of Morgan was confused. She was befuddled. The soul of Morgan had no way to get back to where she wanted to be. She wanted to be in heaven or hell. She didn't care. She didn't want to be there, but she didn't have any closure in her life. She went to the purple cat and said, "Please pray for me." And she walked out. That yellow cat had taken off its Christmas hat and followed that yellow cat too. It reminded her of her, so she was finding it very amusing. She smiled and begged for a friend. After the years went on, the cat grew up and turned into some kind of wolf. Her mother had crossbreeded with a wolf, and so she would be born as a cat and grow up as a wolf. The soul of Morgan enjoyed having sweets. She enjoyed having fun with the little cat friend she had made. She was so happy to know that she had a friend. Even if she couldn't go to heaven or hell, she had a friend there for her who understood. She could communicate since she was cats. They were both cats, but she sort of missed communicating with others that weren't cats, who had no concept of ghosts. She had felt hypnotized with everything going on. She had been confused. How did this all escalate? How did this all happen? She didn't care. All she wanted to do was cut the shit. She realized that Rainbow Dash had been going through multiple universes by going really fast. She knew Sonic could go really fast, and she could communicate with Mobians. She just decided not to in fear that there was some kind of form of Ghostbusters in the Mobian world. She went to the closest friend to that cat that she knew, Fluttershy. Fluttershy had crossbreeded with a dragon. She had died many years ago, but her daughter, Fluttershy Jr., was actually quite smart. She was the daughter of Spike and Fluttershy. She had possessed a very odd purple hedgehog. She wanted to be free again. She wanted to be happy again. She was inside of a human body, and she had only realized that she could haunt people now. She was trying to communicate with the dragon Fluttershy, even though she didn't need to be a hedgehog to do so, but it was less frightening to the shy creature. She had found life to be more amusing in the human world. She was tired of the Mobians. She was tired of everything. The advice that dragon had given her was nothing because she couldn't speak dragon. So she went over to Sonic like she was planning to do in the first place, and she wanted him to go fast. Go as fast as he could. She possessed Sonic and ran as fast as she could. She came out into some kind of human world, but there was odd animals everywhere, and she had possessed a human. She was having fun, so much fun, until what she had discovered was Pokemon was getting quite aggressive towards her. They had electrocuted her. Apparently, the shock and the speed of the electricity going through her had caused her to go back to the same Mobian world, and she hated it. Except, apparently, what the difference between shock and normal was that she was not a ghost anymore. She was normal, and now it was Valentine's Day. She had gotten furious. Furious that she was a Mobian again, and furious that she had no other choice but to be a Mobian, since she couldn't go as fast as Sonic, and she couldn't possess him either. She had gone into her dark form and hated everything. She just wanted to kill everyone in her path. She had went to Sonic. Apparently Sonic had wanted a new look for himself. She had slaughtered him piece by piece, one by one. But it turned out it wasn't Sonic, it was some shitty cosplayer. She was furious. Why was this happening? Why couldn't she get the real thing? Why wasn't the blood on her hands the real Sonic's? She was running as fast as she could. Not as fast as Sonic, but as fast as she could to find him. She had found some neon winged fox with 2 tails. She was very disturbed by it. It reminded her of her friend Tails, but with wings, and the colors of her were hurting her eyes. She couldn't take it, and she just wanted it to go away. She walked away slowly, but she still was being followed by the creature. Everything had gone white. She had blacked out. She had fallen asleep since she hadn't slept in days. She hadn't realized it, but it's been a long time. In her dreams, she dreamt of with weird creatures. With no clothes, no ears, no nothing. Just creatures with arms and legs, and they were running away from each other. She didn't know what it meant, but she was dreaming it. She had gotten a sudden urge for chocolate. She hadn't been able to enjoy herself for a long time, and so she figured that a sweet treat would make her happy. She went to the closest sweet shop and ordered a box of chocolates, eating every one piece by piece. She smiled, knowing that there was at least a little bit of happiness in her life, or at least at that moment. The Pokemon friends had come back for her. They had realized that there was a very fast Pokemon. They didn't know the name of it, but it was pretty fast. It was some kind of winged creature. Morrison? They didn't know how to pronounce it, but they were very fast. They had been so fast that they had taken them to that dimension to try to get Morgan back. Morgan was already on the run from Pinkamena since she found out that she was alive still. She had ran away as fast as she could, being chased by Pinkamena and Pokemon. She didn't know what was going on with life, but she had realized that things were about to get real freaky. She had met a purple hedgehog. It wore odd clothes, but it was very nice to her. Monica was her name. She had hidden at her house for a long time, about a month or so, and life was starting to seem better. It was like that time that she had eaten the sweet chocolate. And, well, it was about to come to an end soon. She didn't know when, but it was soon. She slept on the bed. Then she dreamt of the weird creatures sleeping on the bed as well. The weird, white, blobby creatures with nothing. She didn't know what to do about it, but she knew that it was a running theme for her dreams. She was okay, though. She had realized that maybe having a weapon would help her out a little bit, so she decided to have some fun and finding a giant axe. A giant sword? She couldn't tell, but it was sharp and it was big, and she knew that if anyone tried to get her, she would be protected by that, or at least a little bit. The Pokemon would very much find her, very easily, but some of them were quite kind and didn't touch her. They just knew that they were supposed to be on the run for her, and, well, they didn't mind. So they just walked away back into the forest, pretending that they were still looking. Monica had gotten killed but she had reincarnation powers and reincarnated into a dog with rainbow eyes, something she wanted to be since she was a child. Morgan had found it confusing. She didn't really understand reincarnation, but she didn't mind. She was just happy she wasn't dead yet. The small Pokemon Morris had had an egg. It was called Mendon, or Meeden. She didn't know how to pronounce it, but she didn't mind. The sweet...
My name is Mendon!
Stop! The sweet, caring creature was very nice to her and ran away from the other Pokemon because she knew that she was supposed to be searching for Morgan, but she didn't know why. She had stuck by Morgan's side and would never leave, being happy that they were at least together. Morgan had wanted to relax and try something a little bit more adventurous, like the time she had eaten chocolate. It was one of the best moments of her life, since everything was so hectic. She just loved the small moment of peace. She had tried many foods, but it was quite disgusting. Being adventurous wasn't really her thing, and so she decided to stick to what she knew best. It turned St. Patrick's Day. Picavita was with her friends in her basement. Those cats were still there, but she was learning to get used to them, as she knew that it was going to be a thing she would have to live with. She knew that they weren't going to leave, so she decided to just keep them there, but made sure that they stayed there so they wouldn't be walking out with blood-covered fur, but nobody would be willing to clean them, and Pinkie Pie would if she knew how to with hooves. She couldn't, but she tried her best. Morgan had realized that the Pokemon were starting to get more evolved, more crazy, more legendary, you could say. A giant golden bird, what they would call the rainbow bird, which was odd, would come and fly by, granting wishes to everyone but her. She knew why. She knew why she would never get a break. She didn't mind. All she knew was that she was never going to get her wish and that she was always going to be alone. She had seen the bird multiple times with other legendary creatures, black and white, blue and orange creatures, and well, she didn't really know what to do. She had always seen them around, and they were getting so common that they were just walking the streets. And well, she was being forced to be stuck in her home, not being able to leave because of all the Pokemon trying to find her. Pinkamena had tried to get Sonic to stop being gay, or at least that's what she thought he was. He had hooked him up with Amy, the pink hedgehog that she had found very interesting. She knew that she was obsessed with Sonic, and so what better way to make it better than to get them together? One, she had a happy friend, and two, she had a non-gay friend. They had gotten together as soon as they had met. They hadn't met beforehand, but Amy was just obsessed with a stranger, she thought. It didn't matter. They were together now, and everything was going to be better for Pinkamena as soon as they got married. It was very odd. Morgan had had more dreams. It wasn't about the white blobs anymore. It was about very, very odd creatures. They were blue, they had horns, they were swirling horns. She couldn't really understand. Her dreams were odd, and so she just learned to live with it. She didn't mind. She didn't care. They were just dreams, right? She had felt like life was turning into one big April Fool's joke, building up, building up, building up, making it so she thought that something good was going to happen. Everyone said it was going to be okay, or at least the people who hadn't gotten killed and reincarnated. She had the Pokemon friend, she had the cat, but She couldn't take it anymore. Felt like life was trolling her. Life was shit for her. It was okay. It was okay. She knew that life would get better. But she was losing hope fast. She had felt alone. Very, very alone. She had felt so alone that she started to hallucinate her old friends. Pinkie Pie. She had been a big fan of Pinkie Pie, her baked goods. She never knew this part about her. She just wanted to visit her one day, and then she died and, well, got reincarnated like her other friends. She had had dreams of a nicer, more simple Pinkie Pie. They were friends again. They were happy. Nothing could hurt them. It was wonderful. She had more dreams about Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie was one of those white globs again. She felt empty. Maybe it was because of the emptiness in her life. But then she had realized she had friends. She had some friends, very little, but she had friends, and the color started to come back. She had more dreams of color. She had more dreams of something good. She was happy, or at least as happy as she could be, locked up in a house with animals and a dog. She had made up imaginary friends for the times that her other friends were busy. She had friends of some odd creatures. She couldn't tell what they were. She could barely tell the difference between Mobians. After she got reincarnated, species had gotten a little bit fuzzy. A lot of things had gotten fuzzy. Math, reading, other sort of things like that. Her imaginary friends were kind and gentle, quite shy, like her old friends used to be. She'd gotten tired of being in the house. She ran as quick as she could. She knew that maybe she would go fast enough to where she would go into another dimension. She felt sad that she wouldn't be able to see her friends anymore, but she didn't care. Pokemon were chasing after her, and she had gone fast to where she could go to different dimensions. Very odd-looking creatures, some made out of bubblegum and some vampires, were hanging out with each other. It was full of harmony and happiness, and she just wanted to be there forever. That one teal hedgehog, cat, panther, she couldn't tell, was there as well. She didn't have any difficulty thinking of that. She had found that other panther she assumed was quite pretty and nice. But she found it that she could be a little bit of a downer, a little bit emo, you could say. It had been nighttime. She had been relaxed. But 5 months since she had gotten into any trouble with those other dimensions. She was looking at the stars and the moon. It was a blood moon. It was something beautiful. It was a time where, in the land of Ooh, as she had lived in, where everything would stop, and all the hearts, all the blood would go into the moon. All of the happy times. Where Pinkamena was, that bunny was starting to get into murder. She had turned one of her worst enemies of her and her friends into some kind of accessory for the holiday times, amputating all of his limbs and almost killing him, turning him into a giant egg. It was quite amusing to her as Easter was coming close. All Pinkamena could think of was words. She didn't know what, but all she could think about was words. She was coughing because she was thinking so hard. She didn't know how that was possible, but she was. She found it odd. Quite odd. Why couldn't she think of complete sentences? She couldn't. She just coughed and coughed. She was wheezing and She could agree that she might have been getting a cold from all the blood around her, but she didn't mind. It wasn't the first time. But she was starting to hallucinate. Odd creatures were coming into her house, but she thought that they were hallucinations. Maybe. She didn't know. Vampire-like creatures coming into her house, trying to suck her blood. Not her blood from her neck, but the blood in the walls. And every time they would suck on her blood, wasn't gone. It was just gray. Everything was gray, and all the color had been sucked out. They even bit her, but they didn't suck her blood. They sucked the pink out of her, and the red. Well, she was white, and the blood was going to stain on her now. That's why she liked being pink, because she had an excuse. She hated it. She hated it. She had found that life was getting irritating. She was always in her basement, so she asked her friend Sonic to take her into a different dimension. Unfortunately, it was a three-dimensional dimension. Everything was so detailed it gave them a migraine and they went back. They couldn't take it. It was stupid there anyway. All of the humans were just sticking their pinkies into grass. They had gone into the wrong dimension. All of the hedgehogs and Mobians had turned into ponies, and all the ponies had turned into Mobians. What? She said, or at least she thought. Did she think out loud? She couldn't tell anymore. She couldn't think anymore. Sonic was getting quite irritated with this too, and so decided to run. Run with Picarita. They had gone into a different dimension where there was a whole bunch of circular objects with faces. Some had bows, some didn't, and I think that's how you would differentiate the difference between, well, the girls and the boys. They found it odd. They found it unreal. Most people could understand the differences. They had ran quickly into a different dimension as they found that the circle beings were boring, and they found that all of the dimensions were locked into one. They were all put into one little area, and all of them lived in harmony. They hated it. They hated the fact that they were all happy together. They wanted disaster. They wanted to troll. Sonic had painted himself different colors and started running around like a maniac. Look at me! My name is Original Character! I am completely original. All of the Mobians around them were starting to get irritated. Quite angry. So angry to the point where they shot themselves, all of them dead. Pinkie Pie laughed. Pinkie Pie was so happy that her crotch boobs started to jiggle. She was so, amused with everything going around, and she started to find that the funny blue hedgehog that she had matched up with the pink hedgehog that once was her friend was starting to seem more attractive. She found everything great. No! She screamed, seeing that Sonic was about to kiss Amy. Amy was in this dimension too. A different Amy, maybe. She didn't know, but she didn't care. She needed to kill Amy, and she needed to kill everyone in every dimension so that way her and Sonic could be alone. Princess Luna was in the normal dimension where every pony was happy. She had the ability to not only see into ponies' dreams, but to see in other dimensions with a certain special mirror that her sister didn't know about. It was like the Equestria Girls mirror, except it was more elaborate, more complex, something that only Princess Luna could really understand as she had 1,000 years on the moon to think about this type of technology. She looked at the dimension where the neon, more annoying characters would hang out. They were all saying catchphrases that were overused, and she was quite bored of it, so she went to the next dimension. She had saw the quite pointless dimension of the black screen and the white dot. She was very unamused since she would always see the same thing over and over again, so she looked at the next dimension. She had saw the more entertaining Super Kitty dimension. It was like one of her favorite comic books, except she was very, well, attractive, to say the least. She was the only pony in that version of Equestria that thought that Mobians were attractive. The others thought that they were disformed, odd-looking creatures. She found them interesting, outcasts the equestrian world like her, and she was in love with Super Kitty, fighting crime and having fun while doing it. She had thought how Super Kitty had progressed, at one point being some kind of odd cat, odd hero, odd thing that she didn't really like into something more beautiful. She had erased the bad worlds with, well, the bad Pinkamena, the bad Sonic, the bad Amy. She had erased everything but the Super Kitty world and her world, so that way she could have the Super Kitty world be her new entertainment. An orange cat had seemed to stumble his way into Princess Luna's chamber. It was quite intelligent, and his name was Crookshanks. He walked down the stairs, the glass blue stairs that were quite beautiful and shiny, and saw that Princess Luna was doing something odd. She was doing cocaine on top of the Super Kitty world. It wasn't the world, it was more of like doing cocaine on a TV with Super Kitty playing. She was being very odd as she was touching herself with her hoof. Crookshanks was quite disturbed with this scene and began to walk away. Morgan was the only one that survived the Great Deletion of 2015, as the history books would call it, in her dimensions. She had escaped to the pony world right before it had happened. She had accidentally ported into Princess Luna's chambers. She had saw a completely high Princess Luna with cocaine on her snout, touching herself to the famous Super Kitty that she had known as well. She had been quite bored and frankly didn't care. She had done the cocaine as well and began to have hallucinations and thoughts of Shadow and Silver. It was quite hot to her. Wow. She had gone crazy, ripping off her clothes and cutting herself to where she would need to be bandaged all over. Her fur was crazy, and she started to scream everywhere, laughing and being funny as she did. They were both on cocaine, and they were both happy and touching themselves. Morgan had very, very low lows when it came to drugs, and she was starting to lose the kick. She needed more. She was drooling when she saw more cocaine, mountains of cocaine right there in her chamber, the secret door. The code to that door was 1, 2, 3, 4, as even a person on cocaine could guess, and she was about to roll around in the white substance. She had had more hallucinations. She didn't know that cocaine was a hallucinogen. It wasn't, but she had a wild imagination, and adding drugs to the mix didn't help. She had thought of how her cat friend had grown up. She had felt bad that she had left him, but she didn't care. She was on cocaine. So she just kept on laughing at the odd cat Pikachu creature. She began crying as loud as she could. She couldn't cry louder. She had felt selfish. She had felt horrible. She began to spit. She didn't want to cry anymore, and so the best way to stop crying was to spit. She spit everywhere, and it was green and gross. It reminded her of that one fan fiction, that horrible, horrible fan fiction. Didoti, or Ditto Craze, she thought. Walked away, disturbed. She thought of the time she had with that teal panther. Panther, yes, panther. And she had made up another imaginary friend of a dragon. They all liked Pokemon. They didn't have to worry about being killed by Pokemon, but they were all happy. She began to crap her pants. But it wasn't crap. It was a dark figure with a large breast, only one. And the other breast, that wasn't even a breast, was a gem that was quite close to the other breast. She kind of looked like Shadow. He had been a girl and had really fluffy hair that wasn't on his chest. She wanted to die. Poor Specs, she said. She didn't know who Specs was, but she just let it happen. She began talking to herself in gibberish. Do you want to know how to get pot? I did cocaine. She fell asleep. She woke up. Or at least she thought she woke up. Maybe she didn't know. Dragons hugging each other, and for some reason she was touching herself. She didn't get it. She thought it was funny. She began to get hungry as she realized that she hadn't been eating for the past week. She wanted tacos. She wanted tacos inside her stomach and inside other places as well. She thought of her imaginary friend, that dragon. She didn't have a name. Erica? Yes, Erica was a good name for her. She liked the balls on the side of her. It was right next to her blue jeans, and so she would call her Blue Balls, the dragon face. She would find it amusing and very, very, very funny. So she would eat tacos and talk to Blue Balls, the dragon face, and think about everything going on with her life. She had made up so many imaginary friends, it was ridiculous. She had thought of Flare? Yes, Flare the Nightingale. The Nightingale. She had started to think of the human world and the odd music that came with it. Her and her imaginary friends started to dance to the song that was traditionally made for Rickrolling people. Rickrolling she didn't really understand, but besides that, she was quite happy that that song existed. She thought of the blue balls. Those fucking blue balls. The blue balls with the mouth. She began to foam in the mouth. She started screaming. Mute your mic, Morgan.
I peed a little!
She remembered Shadow, Silver, and Sonic. Oh, Sonic, she wanted to jack that dude off so bad, but she never got the chance to because of the big deleting of 2015. She began laughing as she saw another mountain of cocaine, and She wanted to get high again. She began to hallucinate again since her wild imagination was getting to her. She started to think she was that purple cat again, and she started playing with string. Princess Luna looked like that blue hedgehog, and instead of it being string from his leg, it was the string from her tampon. She had given birth to a tampon as Princess Luna had got stuck inside of her, and she pushed it out like it was a baby. It formed its to some kind of odd hedgehog, and she found it sexy and began to think naughty thoughts about that hedgehog. Princess Luna had pooped out a skull after she had given birth to that tampon. And oh, was it how funny. Stupid. Simon. She couldn't think. Those were the things she was thinking. Weird sentences. She was throwing boxes around like nobody's business. She was thinking that it was hilarious. She began furiously masturbating next to the blue or silver, or she didn't care, just some kind of sexy hedgehog in front of her. She orgasmed boxes and then threw those boxes as well as the other boxes. Everything got sketchy. Very odd, and she was derping, she was cross-eyed, and she wouldn't stop orgasming. She punched herself so hard that she almost died, but Princess Luna had turned her into a pony, and when she looked into the mirror, she saw that she was the same pony as that pony in the beginning, the yellow pony that she wanted to kill herself with. But now she was content. She had thought of that stupid neon weirdo fox that everyone hated. Everyone hated that weirdo fox. They wanted to punch her in the ski. She set things on fire, food on fire, and then she did more cocaine. Oh, it was so funny. And then she orgasmed. She had looked at an alligator in a river. She was still orgasming. She had thought, I think that I'm supposed to not do this for so long. I is going to look at that thing, and it'll be fine. She coughed, laughed. Every time she laughed, she coughed, and then she orgasmed. She thought of gay people. Then she thought of that sexy bat one more time, but she was still kind of an idiot. She smacked that booty as hard as she could, or at least she thought she did. She was hallucinating from the cocaine again, but it was wearing off, and she noticed that she had just smacked Princess Luna's butt. She looked, and she was very, very, very not high, and she needed that high again, so she did more cocaine. She snorted as much cocaine as she could, and, well, she was almost out. She chased whatever she thought was a bird or a cat, hedgehog. She didn't care. She was chasing it, and she thought, wow, how cool. Then she fell asleep. She had a nightmare. A horrible nightmare. A horrible, terrible nightmare of that pink hedgehog again. Oh my god. No, not the stare. It was worse this time. It was so bad. The stare. She wanted to die again. She woke up. She ran over to the hallucinogens. She wanted to do the last bit of cocaine she could before she died. She checked over with her imaginary friends in the blue balls. She started seeing those words again, those words she couldn't really understand. She started blowing everyone in front of her, and boom, orgasm in her face. She wanted to blow people before she died. She started to get a gun. She was about to pull the trigger until she saw this cute little fox. She thought it was so adorable. She became lesbians with it and didn't die. She thought of those gay people again. She didn't really care. She just thought of gay people a lot. She thought of more gay people, except she was eating ice cream. She couldn't tell. She was on drugs, and she was a lesbian. She was so lesbian that everywhere she went there was rainbows, and she thought it was so sexy. She thought of those Pokemon again. It was starting to bum her out. She didn't have any more cocaine to distract her, so she started to do other drugs that Princess Luna had had. Princess Luna was getting mad that Morgan was doing all of her drugs, but Princess Luna wanted to get off drugs anyway, so what better way than give it to some weirdo pony? So she took meth. She started having more hallucinations of odd bunnies and really bad-looking 60s motherfuckers.
It's a dog!
Keep going. It was 4th of July, or whatever the equivalent of the pony version is. They were happy, quite happy, and she thought, why was Knuckles' eyes connected? He wasn't a hedgehog. He just was weird. She started to think about Silver and that one purple guy. She forgot its name. She forgot the gender. Did it have a penis? She didn't care. All she wanted to do was think. And so she did. She took so many drugs. She forgot what she was doing. And then she thought, are those my parents? And she derped. She thought of those words again. The words haunted her. She was getting closer to the edge. She saw the word. She wanted to blow her brains out, gray matter splattering anyone near her. Princess Luna had noticed this and laughed. She was tired of it. She broke up with her other girlfriend and started to date this one girl. She forgot her name. She couldn't pronounce it. Was she Mexican? She didn't care. Did she have a penis? She wanted her to. She just smiled. She was a tomboy. And she was sexy as fuck. She had become super. I'm super now, she said. When she was super, she had a black man's voice. It was very, very hot. What's up, motherfuckers? I is the superest of all the supers, my nigga. After Morgan had said nigger, she had been called racist. So the racist cat came and killed her. She didn't kill Morgan. She killed her clone, Mary Sue motherfucker Juliana. She started to roll around and stand around at the speed of diagonal as she was on weed. She thought of the many ways she could, the black and white blobs, the sketchy ones, and the colorful ones. She didn't care. She just liked everything around her. The author started to go on drugs a little bit too as she was looking at all of these stupid ass pictures and decided to give up because I don't give a fuck about Morgan's drawings. Well, that was the end of My Nigga for Shizzle, the Morgan the Cat 2468 story. If you would like to hear more, maybe if I am popular and I get more money and more problems. As you can see, you could look at Morgan's shitty art. And yeah, Morgan orgasmed a lot. She did a lot of drugs. Yep. And she met a lot of gay people. So how do you think that story went, Morgan?
Ah!
Can you please elaborate on that scream?
What?
Will you please tell me how you felt about the story?
It was great!
What?
I will wake up everyone!
You're gonna wake up everyone? I hope you do.
Yes!
Do you think that that was a good story?
Yes! Great story ever!
Great.
Great!
Holy shit. We're gonna look at more gay people. We're gonna look at more bisexuals. We're going to look at Morgan's really weird stalker commissioners. Yeah. That was Mo Money, Mo Problems. Bye, fuck you. Now, stop recording.
No, wait!
Great.
Great! Stop me, don't listen!
Are you done recording?
Yeah, no, I'm not! Get on! Get fired! Get on!
This is done.
No, it's not!
You just lagged so
No, it's not!
Oh my god.
How do
Okay.
we get